Good evening. This subject today, and I really want to emphasize it, is on the best way that you can settle your tax debts. The way that everyone wants to settle them, which is a lot less than what they owe for taxes. In other words, you offer an amount to the Internal Revenue Service that you can afford to pay, and you offer that to the IRS in order to settle a tax debt which is considerably more than your offer. Now, of course, we all want to do this. This is one of the most ideal ways to get rid of this enormous debt. A lot of people owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the reason they owe this money is because, number one, they haven't filed tax returns. IRS has gone in and prepared them, called substitute for returns, on behalf of the taxpayer. Consequently, even though the taxpayer has not filed, the taxpayer winds up owing a lot of tax, and over the years it accumulates. Interest and penalties are assessed on top of the tax, so if you ignore these debts, over time they can become exponential. So that's how some people who have not filed their tax returns in many years often end up in debt for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and unfortunately this is not that uncommon. The person may not necessarily be rich, but the person didn't file, didn't pay taxes, didn't get the benefit of their deductions. If they had itemized deductions such as mortgage interest, medical expenses, charitable contributions, real estate taxes, and so forth, they're not going to get the benefit of that. They're going to get just the standard deduction. And that's on an individual tax return. Now, on a business return, none of your business expenses are going to be taken into consideration because the IRS isn't aware of what they are. The IRS is going to go ahead and prepare tax returns based on the information that they receive from third parties. And this information comes in the way of 1099s and W-2s. So it's in your best interest, number one, to file those tax returns timely so that you can have the benefit of your expenses and also of your itemized deductions. However, people who do not file their tax returns and find themselves in a tremendous amount of tax debt will eventually, if they don't pay or settle with the IRS, wind up with levies, liens, and wage garnishments. That means that the IRS can put a lien under your name. It's not just on your property. It's on your name, your social security number. It's public information and is picked up by creditors. And that lien stays on there until the tax debt is settled or the statutory period for collection has expired. It's also public information, so these liens are available to people who want to get leads. So your name may be submitted to someone who's sending out letters for problem resolution or debt relief. They know that you owe taxes because you have a tax lien. It's not, some miracle or some inside knowledge that they have. It's because your information is open to the public. That is what a lien is. It's public information filed in your county against your name and it's not going to show your social security number, but it's going to show your name and your address. It's also going to show tax lien. In that respect, it's not good to have a lien because it interferes with your ability to get credit, to buy a home, to get a job. It can cause a lot of problems. In addition, if you want to settle your tax debt using the tool which is most powerful which is called the offer in compromise. You can use that if you qualify. So if you're owing a lot of taxes, if you have a lien, if you have a levy on your bank accounts, a garnishment on your wages, one way to stop those things from occurring is to enter into an offer in compromise. Now, because everyone doesn't qualify for the offer in compromise, there are other ways to stop these levies and garnishments, and that is to apply for an installment agreement and pay the tax debt in installments. So you have your options to get this tax debt under control. However, you do have to qualify for both the installment agreement and the offer in compromise. When you go to a tax resolution expert, they're going to need to know a lot about you, very detailed information about your finances, your liabilities, your assets, your income, and your expenses. In other words, they need to know what your monthly income is, what your monthly expenses are. They need to know whether you're in business or not, whether you're a sole proprietor, whether you're an individual, or if you're a business. And depending upon that, they can order transcripts and get an idea of how much you owe and for what years, and whether or not you have filed all your tax returns. Because in order to qualify for an offer in compromise or an installment agreement, you have to have filed all those delinquent tax returns. So when you go to someone to help you, the cost of helping you is going to have to include the cost of preparing all those prior year tax returns. You can always go to someone who advertises very cheap tax preparation if that's what you would like to do, if that's better for you. But in order to actually have your taxes settled, you have to have those tax returns filed. You can't have outstanding delinquent tax returns that haven't been filed. So when you go to apply to settle a tax debt, keep in mind that there are basically two ways of doing it. Of course, within those two basic ways, there are a lot of options. However, you must be in compliance. And also, you can't be in bankruptcy. So when you set up an installment agreement, you have to be in compliance. And you also have to qualify for the installment agreement. You can't just come up with any amount of money that you're willing to pay each month. IRS will decide what you can afford to pay. It all depends on your financial information and all your individual facts and circumstances. And the same thing applies to the offer in compromise, which is even more difficult to get. So don't assume that you can quickly and easily get rid of your tax debt or have someone stop a lien, a levy, or remove a wage garnishment or remove a lien. There are procedures that have to be followed regardless of the company or individual assisting you on this tax matter. So keep in mind when you want to have a tax debt settled that there are specific ways that have to be, specific things that must be done first. You've got to include in your qualifications that you have completed and filed all tax returns. Also, you need to be paying current. You need to be current on your taxes. For example, if you're in the year 2015, you have to be paying taxes as you earn income. So you do that through your wages, your wage withholdings for federal taxes, and you also do it by making estimated quarterly payments. So those are the two main things that must be done, that you have to have already before you can even begin to qualify for any of these tax debt resolutions. So keep in mind that you must be current on your taxes, and you must have filed all those tax returns. That is to begin with. And I don't want to go into a lot of additional detail, but I just wanted everyone to be aware of the fact that in order to get an installment agreement, to get an offer and compromise, to have your debts settled, to stop a levy, to stop a wage garnishment, you have to get into compliance, and you have to set up a means of repaying the debt, whether it's through the offer and compromise or through an installment agreement. If you have any specific questions, it's always a good idea to do research and go to the Internal Revenue Service website. The IRS.gov is the website where you can get all the tax information, a lot of the forms, publications that pertain to many of the subjects, if not all your tax subjects, or tax problems and tax debts, are right there for you to look at and research. Once you get these items, you can always contact a tax professional and discuss these things with the tax professional. But before you do this, keep in mind that you must have all your tax returns filed. And you must be current on your taxes. That means you must be paying on your taxes as you're earning income. Again, I don't want to keep repeating it, but there's no point in going to anyone until you are completely aware of the fact that every single person or firm or company that you go to has to ensure that you get those tax returns filed and that you are in compliance. So good luck. If you think you're going to be able to spend just a few pennies for tax representation, be aware that there's a lot more expense involved than you might have anticipated. But it's well worth the investment. Well worth it. So good luck to everyone, and if you need help, I'm here to help you. Thank you.